Have you ever laid awake at night wondering, what if I end up in a nursing home? Will I be safe? Will they take care of me the way I deserve? You're not alone. These are the quiet questions so many seniors carry in their hearts, but rarely speak out loud. The truth is, the idea of moving into a nursing home can feel overwhelming. It stirs up a mix of emotions, fear, uncertainty, even guilt. No one dreams of leaving the comfort of their home, but sometimes health needs or changing life circumstances make that decision necessary. And when that time comes, knowing what you're stepping into is absolutely crucial. Because when it comes to your safety, your dignity, and your well-being, there's just no room for guessing. That's why we're having this conversation today. Because you deserve to know what's really going on behind those doors in 2025. You deserve honest answers, and most of all, you deserve peace of mind. In this video, we're going to talk openly and compassionately about nursing homes. What's changed in recent years, what risks still exist, and what you and your loved ones can do to protect yourself. Ask the right questions, and choose a place where you're not just safe, but respected and cared for. Let's begin by looking at something that's shifted in a big way over the last few years: staffing shortages. You've probably heard bits and pieces in the news about nurses and caregivers being stretched thin. But here's what that really means for you. Fewer eyes watching over residents, longer response times when someone presses a call button, and more overworked staff trying their best to juggle too many patients at once. It's not always about bad intentions. It's about a broken system that hasn't caught up with the growing needs of our aging population. In fact, did you know that nearly every nursing home in the U.S. is now struggling to meet basic federal staffing standards? That means you or someone you love could end up in a facility where there simply aren't enough people to provide proper care. And this isn't just about convenience. It's about safety. Missed medications, delayed help after a fall, or even something as simple as not being turned in bed regularly can lead to infections, pressure sores, and emotional distress. So, how can you protect yourself? It starts by knowing what to ask before you move in. One of the most important questions you can bring to a nursing home tour is this: what is your staff-to-resident ratio, especially on nights and weekends? If the person giving the tour fumbles with the answer or avoids it, that's a red flag. Trust your gut. You want a place that's transparent, honest, and proud of their team. A well-staffed home will be happy to share those numbers with you. And while we're talking about staff, let's touch on turnover rates. If a facility has a revolving door of caregivers, that's something to take seriously. High turnover often means low morale, lack of training, and residents who never get to build trusting relationships with the people caring for them. It can feel cold, impersonal, and chaotic. So go ahead and ask, how long has your average staff member worked here? A good home will have caregivers who've stayed for years, not just months. Now, let's move from staff to another concern that weighs heavily on families: safety protocols and resident abuse. I know it's a tough subject. No one wants to believe something bad could happen inside a place meant to provide care. But here's the truth. Abuse and neglect do happen in some nursing homes. Not often, and not everywhere, but enough that we have to talk about it openly. Sometimes it's physical, like a rough transfer from bed to wheelchair. Other times, it's emotional, being ignored, yelled at, or treated like a burden. The most heartbreaking part is that many seniors are too afraid or too confused to speak up. That's why it's so important to have regular check-ins with your loved ones, or to advocate for yourself boldly if something feels off. During your first visit to any nursing home, don't just look at the fancy lobby or the framed certificates on the wall. Look closer. Are residents sitting alone in wheelchairs, staring blankly at a wall? Or are they engaged, smiling, part of a warm community? Take note of how staff members talk to residents. Do they use their names? Are they gentle, patient, and kind? And here's a little tip that often reveals the true culture of a facility. Ask to speak to a resident or their family member. You might say something like, "Would it be possible to hear from someone who lives here or has a parent here?" The way the facility responds will tell you everything. A great nursing home won't hesitate. They know their families are their best ambassadors. The last thing we'll touch on today is infection control, something we've all learned to think about differently since the pandemic. Cleanliness isn't just about shiny floors. It's about protecting you from dangerous illnesses like pneumonia, the flu, or even COVID. Ask if the facility has a designated infection control coordinator. That's a position every nursing home is supposed to have now, but not all of them do. You have every right to know what their cleaning routines look like, how often common areas are sanitized, and how they respond if someone gets sick. And don't let anyone make you feel silly for asking. You're not being difficult, you're being wise. This is your life, your health, and your peace of mind we're talking about. You've worked too hard and come too far not to demand the very best for yourself. So, take your time. Visit more than once. Ask every question. Bring a friend or family member if you can. Listen closely not just to what's being said, but to what's being shown and what isn't. Because when it comes to choosing a safe nursing home in 2025, it's not about picking the fanciest place or the one with the biggest brochure. It's about finding a home where you'll be treated with the dignity, care, and respect you deserve every single day. Let's keep going. Now that we've opened up the conversation about staff, safety, and what to look for during a tour, let's talk about something just as important, how it feels to live there every day. Because safety isn't just about avoiding harm. It's about feeling emotionally secure, socially connected, and respected in your daily life. One of the biggest concerns seniors quietly share with me is the fear of losing their independence. That feeling of control over your own choices, when to wake up, what to eat, how to spend your time, can start to slip away in a setting that's too rigid or poorly run. And that can be incredibly discouraging. But here's the good news. Not all nursing homes are like that. In fact, some have come a long way in offering person-centered care, which simply means you stay in charge of your own life as much as possible. When you visit a potential nursing home, pay close attention to how flexible the routines are. Can residents sleep in if they want to? Can they choose what they eat from a menu? Or are meals the same for everyone? Do they get to decide what activities they join? Or are things scheduled without their input? These small details tell you a lot about whether a facility respects your autonomy. And if you're someone who enjoys quiet time, gardening, music, or a little friendly card game, don't be afraid to ask about those things. Ask them, how do you support hobbies and personal interests? A place that lights up when you ask that question is likely one that values your individuality, not just your medical chart. Another deeply personal issue we need to bring into this conversation is mental health. And yes, it matters just as much as physical safety. Because here's the truth. Even if a facility checks all the boxes for medical care and staff levels, if a resident feels isolated, ignored, or emotionally neglected, that can lead to serious depression and even physical decline. In 2025, we're finally seeing more awareness about loneliness among seniors in care homes, but it's still a growing problem. Some residents go entire days without meaningful human interaction, especially those with cognitive challenges. That's not okay. You deserve joy, companionship, laughter, and connection. So how can you tell if a nursing home is promoting mental wellness? First, ask if they have a full-time social worker or mental health counselor on staff. Then, observe how staff interact with residents. Do they laugh together, share stories, or just rush from task to task? You're looking for signs that people are seen as human beings, not just patients. Also, ask how they support residents during tough, emotional times. For example, if someone is grieving the loss of a spouse or struggling with memory loss, is there someone they can talk to? Is there counseling, group support, or spiritual care available? These may not seem like urgent questions, but they can make all the difference in the long run. Let's talk about another key part of feeling safe, family involvement. You might be surprised at how much this affects your well-being. In great nursing homes, families aren't treated like outsiders. They're treated like partners in care. That means open communication, invitations to participate in care planning, and regular updates, not just when something goes wrong. If you're helping a loved one move into a facility, make sure you know how the staff communicates with families. Do they have regular family meetings? Can you call and speak to a nurse or manager when you need to? Are there online portals to view care updates? And just as important, are you welcome to visit any time, or are visiting hours limited? Some homes now use technology to keep families in the loop, like text updates or video calls, especially when family members live far away. Ask about that. In a world where it's so easy to stay connected, a good nursing home should be using every tool available to help you stay informed and involved. And while we're on the topic of staying connected, let's not overlook community engagement. A truly thriving facility finds ways to keep its residents plugged into the world outside. That might mean field trips, volunteer visits, intergenerational programs with local schools, or even just virtual events with music and entertainment. If all of that sounds too good to be true, don't worry, these places do exist. But they're not always the ones with the fanciest lobby or the biggest ad budget. Sometimes the best homes are the quiet, consistent ones with a deeply committed staff and a warm, personal atmosphere. Here's something else to remember as you search. No place is perfect. Every nursing home will have flaws. What matters most is whether they respond to concerns quickly, listen to feedback with care, and keep trying to improve. That's the kind of home where you or your loved one can not only be safe, but thrive. So take your time. Talk to the staff. Talk to the residents. Talk to the families. And above all, trust what your heart tells you. If something feels off, don't ignore it. If something feels right, explore it further. There's one more crucial piece we haven't talked about yet, and that's the financial side. For many families, figuring out how to afford quality care is the biggest hurdle of all. Let's keep going. Now, let's talk about the part that often causes the most stress, but also deserves the most clarity, the financial side of nursing homes. Because here's the honest truth. Many families walk into this process completely unprepared for the costs involved. And that lack of preparation can lead to rushed decisions, financial strain, and choosing a facility that may not truly be the right fit. First, it's important to understand that nursing homes are not cheap. In 2025, the national average for a semi-private room in a nursing home is hovering somewhere around $8,000 to $10,000 per month. A private room can easily push $11,000 or more. That's not a typo. That's per month. And it adds up fast. Now, many people assume that Medicare will cover the bill if you or your loved one needs to move into a nursing home. But that's one of the biggest misconceptions out there. Medicare only covers short-term stays in a skilled nursing facility, typically up to 100 days, and only if you meet specific medical criteria after a qualifying hospital stay. After that, you're on your own. So, where does that leave most seniors? Either private pay, meaning you pay out of pocket using retirement savings, income, or assets, or you apply for Medicaid, which is different from Medicare and is the government program designed for those with limited income and resources. Here's where things get tricky. Not all nursing homes accept Medicaid. Some only accept a limited number of Medicaid beds. Others may not offer the same private room or personalized services for Medicaid residents as they do for private pay ones. So before you fall in love with a facility, ask them directly. Do you accept Medicaid? What are your private pay rates? Can someone start as private pay and transition to Medicaid later? Those are tough but essential questions to ask up front. And if Medicaid is going to be part of your plan, you'll need to go through a financial eligibility process that varies by state. Many families turn to elder law attorneys or Medicaid planning specialists to help navigate that process, especially if there are assets like a house, life insurance policies, or a spouse who will remain living at home. If you're lucky enough to have long-term care insurance, now is the time to dust off the policy and go over the details with a fine-tooth comb. Every policy is different, but many cover a portion of the daily costs for nursing home care. However, these policies often have waiting periods, benefit caps, and strict documentation requirements, so don't assume coverage without reviewing it thoroughly. Some newer policies also include in-home care benefits, which can be a great alternative to consider if staying at home is still an option. Another option that's becoming more common in 2025 is life insurance conversions. Some life insurance policies can be converted into long-term care benefits while the policyholder is still alive, providing monthly payments to help cover care costs. But again, this isn't automatic. It's a process, and it depends on the type of policy you have and your age and health status. Let's also not overlook veteran benefits. If you or your spouse served in the military, you may be eligible for VA programs that help cover the cost of nursing home care, either through the VA health system or through community providers. These benefits are often underutilized simply because people don't know they exist. Now, as you're going through this journey, I want you to remember something. This is not just about numbers. This is about value. Yes, cost matters, but what you're truly paying for is peace of mind. Knowing your loved one is in a safe, respectful, and supportive environment. That's priceless. So don't be afraid to ask for a detailed breakdown of what's included in the monthly rate. Some homes bundle everything together: meals, laundry, activities, medication management. Others charge a la carte. You have every right to ask and compare. And when it comes to protecting yourself financially, read the contract. I know it's tempting to just skim and sign, especially when emotions are high and decisions need to be made quickly, but don't do it. Sit down, take your time, and read every line of that admission agreement. Look for things like cancellation policies, refund clauses, rate increases, and responsibilities around personal property. If there's anything you don't understand, and there probably will be, bring it to a trusted advisor, a lawyer, or someone you trust to go over it with you. This is a big decision. You don't want surprises later on because of something hidden in the fine print. Now let's shift gears a little, because while finances are a huge piece of the puzzle, I want to leave you with something even more important: empowerment. This journey, whether it's for you or for someone you love, is about making informed, confident choices. Choosing a nursing home is not a sign of weakness. It's not giving up. It's about finding the safest, most supportive place to live the next chapter of life with dignity. And that's what every single senior deserves. So trust your instincts. If something feels off during a visit, even if everything looks perfect on paper, listen to that voice. If a facility director won't answer your questions directly or gets defensive when you raise concerns, take that seriously. You're not just a customer. You are an advocate, and your voice matters. On the flip side, if you walk into a place where people are smiling, not just the staff, but the residents too, where there's music playing, conversations happening, and staff who know residents by name, that's worth gold. If a facility welcomes your questions, invites you to visit again, and even encourages you to drop by unannounced, that's a sign of real confidence and transparency. There are great nursing homes out there. Safe ones. Happy ones. Places where people don't just survive, they live. The challenge is finding them. But with the right information, the right support, and a little courage, you can find a home that truly feels like home. And if you're a senior watching this and you're feeling unsure or overwhelmed by all the decisions ahead, I want you to know something. You are not alone. There are people, your family, your doctors, your community, who want to help. You've spent your whole life caring for others. Now it's your turn to be cared for, safely and with deep respect. And if you're an adult child or caregiver watching this video for someone you love, please know how important your role is. You're making decisions that carry weight and emotion. That takes strength. But don't try to do it all on your own. Get help. Ask questions. Lean on the community around you. Before we end today, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Have you visited a nursing home recently? What did you notice, good or bad? Your experiences might help someone else who's just beginning this journey. So don't hesitate to share. We're building a community here, and your voice can make a real difference. And if you found this video helpful, go ahead and click that like button. It helps more seniors and families discover this important information. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and join us here at Primetime Wisdom, where we talk honestly and compassionately about what really matters as we age. Until next time, take care of yourself. Stay informed. And remember, you deserve to feel safe, seen, and supported at every stage of life. Here's to living your best years with wisdom, confidence, and peace of mind.